Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun. And today I want to talk about Machlokes, Rishim and Galil and the Chachamim in the first mission of Perek Yud Beis of Masechah Shabbos. Talks about Bona and Makav Patish, building Makav Patish. Rishim and Galil says that a unique case. Now, until now, we're talking about if you drill a hole in the wall, or you put a screw in the wall, or you nail a hole, you put a nail in the coffin, Makav Patish. Right, you hit with a hammer a nail into the coffin. So even if you hold ein binyan v'sir b'kelim, you've done makav patish, you finished making the coffin. Now the dead person, cannot get out of his coffin. So you've done makav patish, you've done the malacha. So you've done something, you've accomplished something, right? You've done something commercial, right? A commercial to bury someone on Shabbos, to construction on your house. That's a commercial project, even though technically maybe you're just, that would be really, I think, right? If you're hanging up a picture in your house, I don't think that's a malacha. We're talking about things which are commercial projects over here. Even if you're not a professional and you're doing it, I think you can still be chayav. If you're constructing a house, hanging up a nail to put a picture, I don't think is part of the malacha. I mean, obviously, most people would disagree with that. Like I've mentioned many times, I believe the malacha of Shabbos is doing anything in a commercial way, where you're doing in business, not in something which is aesthetically pleasing to put up a picture in your house. Shimon Lilo says, even when you don't actually are not productive, you're just doing something to be productive in the future. For example, you take a head of a hammer. Now, when you use a hammer and you want to make metal, you want to make silver or gold very flat, right? So you can fashion into jewelry or things like that. So you take the hammer, right? But if the head of the hammer is not even, so when you hit on the silver, the metal to flatten out, you're not going to get a smooth surface. So what do you do before that? You take the head of the hammer and you hit it on the sadon. Sadon, I think, is a sycamore tree. It's a type of tree, a tree stump or whatever that's flat. So you hit the hammer on the wood over there, it flattens out the head of the hammer, which enables you then to take that hammer with a flat head and hit it on the metal and make the metal flat. So Shmuel says, obviously, if you take the hammer and you flatten out the metal, that's a malacha because you're fixing the metal. But the preliminary stage of fixing the hammer, is that a malacha? Some say no. Shmuel says yes. What's a machlokas? Machlokas is the idea of binyan mistira, right? So what you're doing over here, or maybe it's really not binyan mistira. We're talking about a hammer, a makav patish. You're fixing the kli over here. So is makav patish binyan mistira? Are these malachas hechsher malachas? Right? If I'm doing it, I'm accomplishing something, right? I'm making the hammer straight. And I'm doing something, I'm accomplishing something, because the hammer straight is better than a hammer that's not straight. In a sense, I'm being gomer the kli, I'm finishing the hammer, because now it's a functional hammer to do what I want to do with it, which is to make straight metal, a flat, straight metal. However, that's not my intention over here. So, technically, right, you are doing a makav patish, but it's almanas, right? Because I'm not doing it the reason for this. Yes, I am doing makav patish, but I'm doing it for the purpose of doing makav patish on the silver or the gold. So do we say that your machshava, your thought, that you, even though technically, yes, I did makav patish with the hammer, I smoothed out the hammer, I made it a functional utensil, but I'm doing it almanas for something else. Does that negate the makav patish? Really, makav patish depends. You are doing makav patish, you're making it, but it's for something else. So it's for something else. So therefore, you're not chayiv. Now it's hard to understand why you're not chayiv, because whether I like it or not, I'm making a hammer that's smooth now, a smooth face, so that I could make something else smooth. Yes, okay. So I'm chayiv twice: once for smoothing out the hammer, and once when I smooth out the metal. But the idea is that, like I said before, the malachas on Shabbos, Chacham say, is for commercial purposes over here. So when is it considered a commercial purpose or a business-like purpose, right? If I would just take the hammer and smooth out the face and then just put it in my closet over there, okay, why, you're not doing anything. You're only chayav once you actually take it and make it into jewelry or make it something flat, which I can make into jewelry, which is a commercial type of activity. So even though technically, yes, there is makav patish with the hammer, but it's not a commercial activity. That's the point. It's not a commercial activity until I take the hammer and use it for the commercial activity of producing jewelry, or producing flat metal, which I can make into jewelry. So therefore, the machshava that I'm doing it for a specific purpose, and this is not the final malacha. I don't think it's a concern of makah patish. I think because it is makah patish, you are fixing the hammer. The question is, are you doing it for commercial purposes or not? And until I use it for commercial purposes, right, it's not used for commercial purpose. But I can still decide to not use the hammer, right? So it's not commercial purpose until I take it and flatten out the metal. And that's, I think, the understanding the Rabbanan why it's not a malacha until I actually flatten the metal with it. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.